Welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Scott Mizek, CAD Technology Center. I'm an application engineer on the infrastructure side. I'd like to thank everyone for actually tuning in today because as you can see this webinar was supposed to be on the 16th, but because I was sick the day before and you really didn't want to listen to me with the voice I had on the 16th, we moved it to today. So yes, thanks to everyone for actually showing up. We're going to look at the hidden secrets of Civil 3D, and we're going to look at the Enhancement Pack 1 for 2017. Before I get too far in, this will be recorded, so this will be up on our YouTube website probably by end of the day, especially since this is going in before lunch. If you have questions, type them in. If I see the question and I think it should be answered right then and there, I'll go ahead and answer it. If I think I can wait till the end, I'll go ahead and just answer it at the end. If it's something that I don't really know or I think it might just not pertain to the webinar per se, I'll probably just email you after it. If I don't answer your question, I will probably answer it after the webinar. So with that being said, we'll jump in and we'll say, let's look at what's inside the Enhancement Pack. First of all, the Enhancement Pack, it used to be called the Productivity Packs. And Autodesk would release a Productivity Pack, usually for each software, once, maybe twice a year. Usually once a year would be the norm. But like with 2016, they actually released a third Productivity Pack because they'll still come out, even though 2017 is out. So I would expect an Enhancement Pack or a Productivity Pack for 2017 to possibly come out maybe in 3-4 months from now, or September, October. This Enhancement Pack for 2017 was actually released back in September of 2016, so it has actually been out for about 6 months now. And with that being said, I'm going to ask a poll question here. And my poll question is, have you already downloaded the Enhancement Pack 1 for 2017? And you got a couple options, yes, no, or what is the Enhancement Pack? So I'm seeing right now that we're looking at like 75% no, and then 78 no, we got 11% right in there saying what is the Enhancement Pack. So I'm seeing a lot of people going, nope, I haven't downloaded it yet, or what is it? There's one or two out there that have actually downloaded this. So with that, maybe I'll be able to give you some tidbits on how the tools work, and we'll look at it from that way. So I'll give the poll about another 10 seconds. That way it'll be open for about a minute, and then we'll jump into back into the PowerPoint. So yep, we ended up about 70% no, 20% what is in the Enhancement Pack, and only about 10% yes. So I'm going to go ahead and close that poll, and I'm going to jump back into the PowerPoint. So some of the tools in the Enhancement Pack, first of all, they're stored in the toolbox in your tool space, and you should see an AutoCAD Civil 3D 2017 V1 enhancements. And underneath there are tools for Subassemblies, Civil Engineering Data Translator, labels from property sets, pipe networks, swap pressure network parts, rail turnout and crossings, and then traverse input. So the first one is Subassemblies. So in my toolbox, you can see the report manager and some of the other things that you'll see in the toolbox. Under the enhancement, there is import Civil 3D Subassemblies. And if you click on that, it just gives you the standard input. Hey, where's the PK stored at? And then what tool palette do you want it to fall on? But what Autodesk did was they actually went out and took some of the subassemblies that were OTB and actually put them into a PKT format so we could actually open up the subassembly, make modifications to it, or see, hey, how was this built? Because I need to build another one. So in the Enhancement Pack 1, they released all of these subassemblies in a PKT format. And when you install the enhancement pack, these subassemblies are stored in C, program data, Autodesk, C3D 2017, ENU, V1 enhancement subassemblies, and then Imperial. There's also the subassemblies for metric. So this is a list of all of the subassemblies that are available in the first enhancement. They've released, I just saw the notes. Let me actually say show. Hey, there we go. Now you should be able to see my screen. So let me just back up. I apologize about that. I started it, but I forgot to re-show my screen. So the tools, Civil 3D subassemblies, the data translator, labels, pipe networks, swap pressure networks, rail turnouts, and then traverse inputs. Subassemblies, when you expand the enhancement pack, import Civil 3D subassemblies, that is the standard box you have. So you just navigate to it, but in the enhancement pack, this is the list that they made available. So all these have been changed from basically a .NET to a PKT format, and that is the file location where they are actually getting stored. And like I was about ready to say before I actually looked up at the questions, they actually released another set back in the 2016 version. So I think there's two more groups about the same size of OTB subassemblies that they've converted from a .NET to a PKT format. So with Subassembly Composer built into Civil 3D, we had the ability to take a look at that. So we can look at, hey, how is the mark point built, and how is the linked mark point built? Hey, how did they make this adjustment? Because you know what, it kind of works, but it doesn't really work for me. If I could just do this little tweak to it, I could make it work for my situation. Well, now instead of having to rebuild it from scratch, I could actually just open up that PKT and make the changes so it'll fit my requirements, and then just save it as something new, and then import it into a custom column. So that's subassembly. So yeah, I would say that they've probably released probably about 60 subassemblies that were .NET programming based into a PKT format. This is just a list from the 2017 release, the enhancement pack 1. Civil Engineering Data Translator. This has been out since about 2015, but it got released with the enhancement pack 1 of Civil 2017. It wasn't actually built into the 2017 release, but I had the ability to import Bentley Geopack project data, Bentley Inroads project data, and then I also have the ability to export out Civil 3D objects to Bentley Geopack or Bentley Inroads. Well, Geopack, if you're not familiar with MicroStation, what that would import is a TIN or a GPK file type. The Inroads project would import a DTM or an ALG file type. And then obviously going Civil 3D to Bentley, we are looking for a DWG file type. So what used to be having to redraw something or having MicroStation just save it as a DGN and dumbing everything down and then bringing it back in, now I have the capabilities of bringing in a TIN, an alignment, a terrain model, and have it be built almost perfectly. Have I seen a surface come in 100% correct? No, but it's been 98% correct. There's always been just a little tweak here or there, but starting at 98%, then starting at 0% is still always better. And so with this process, what I will do is, in this case, I'm looking at Civil 3D at Bentley. If you right-click on Export Civil 3D, you'll get an execute command, and what it's going to do is it's going to open up your File Explorer, and it's going to say, hey, what DWG do you want to bring in? And in this case, I actually brought in my topo drawing, and I'd say that, and as soon as I said open, it'll start the transfer file. The key on this is you have to make sure that this drawing is not open, because it won't work if it's open. So this tool basically could run with an empty drawing in here. Definitely make sure that the topo drawing isn't open when you do the execute command, because it won't work. So it'll start saying transferring files to the cloud. So you will need an A360 account for this to work, and you will need to be logged in because it's going to go up to the cloud. You could do this for 5, 6, 7, however many jobs that you want, and you'll see that transferring down there. But in the toolbox under the data translator, there is an open job monitor in there. And what you'll do is you'll say open when it's done or about done. And you'll see your list and when the job is done. So you see that number 2 and 3 were complete. I then had the ability to say download. My urban drawing that at this time was actually in the process, so I don't have that ability to download. So it's not going to put it in your File Explorer right away. You'll have to come into the job monitor, and once it's complete, download it, and then download it to the file location that you want. And when you get done, this is what I get. So exporting out the topo drawing as a geopack and inroads, I end up getting an XML, a data file, a TIN, GPK, XLSX, XLM, again, another DTM, and the alignment drawing, because I had an alignment in there. So I end up getting all these files, which I can then bring into MicroStation. Labels. Labels, I have the ability to now add property sets to a data label. So if you shot a tree, you have the ability to actually have your label come in and now say condition good, utility conflict, pavement impact, and maybe even the height of the tree. The labels work by coming in and defining what criteria you need. And then in the text component editor, there's the extra tab there called property sets, which instead of just properties of point number, elevation, description, grid northing, grid easting, northing, I have property sets, and I can then bring all that information in and put it into my label. So now I can label that for my tree. And once it's in the tree, you'll end up seeing the property sets, and then there is the data on the tree. Oops, let me go back. The problem with this is I can't have it just read all trees and automatically have this property set assigned to it. I actually have to come in, and once the points are in, come in and say, hey, assign this property set to the trees. And then once it's in, I have to then make the condition. So I can't, in the field, I can't shoot this tree right here and call it TRD for tree deciduous, and then space sugar maple, space good, space overhang issue noted, and then none, and then 100. I have to manually bring this in and then change the data after it's in. So it's kind of like an object data table. If you've ever used those in the past, I can create a data table that has all this information and then attach it to the object, but then I have to go in and manually make any adjustment to it to get things to work. And so it still works. It still gives me the ability to add extra stuff to the label. I just have to manually make the connection to the property sets and then make the change to the property sets. So I could select all the trees that are in condition good, and then it would say condition good, and I could make the change to all of them at once, but I couldn't come in and have it automatically say this is good or this is bad. It still doesn't replace user-defined properties in your survey database, but it's a little bit closer. It is definitely a little bit farther ahead than using object data tables. Pipe network analysis. We now have the ability to analyze gravity networks in the enhancement pack. And so we had hydroflow, we had storm and sanitary analysis. Well, we now have analyzed gravity network in an enhancement pack. So now we have 3 different ways of checking out our gravity network. So you click on Analyze Gravity Network, say Execute. First thing is, on the general, pick the pipe network, outfall source, where is the end of my water going? You got tailwater conditions, elevation 0. We're going to look at Analyze Type, Resize Pipe, and Reset Inverts. Compute energy and hydraulic grade lines. If we hit default settings down at the bottom, this will pop up, and we have the ability to look at the default structures. So inlet type, grate width, length, open area, depression, curb throat height, curb opening length. More information about the pipes. So min, max velocity, minimum cover, default end value. Minimum crop down, minimum type of concentration. So we have all this little information about the network that we can plug in. Hit next. We go to the rainfall. There are 2 different CSV files that have data on there. So we could do the NOAA tabular or just X degree. Obviously, with it being CSV, we would have the ability to create our own CSV. So if we were in a unique area that maybe got a lot of rain, or maybe a ½ inch of rain an hour is enough to flood the place because we're out in Arizona, we can make our own CSV file. Just obviously open up one of these 2, make your corrections, adjustments for your area, and then move on. We have the ability for the annual exceedance probability, half, fifth, 1/10, 1/25, 1/50, all the way down to 1/1000th. And then in the structures, we have the ability to determine what each structure is. So there's my 6 structures. Is it an outfall, a curb inlet? What surface are we referencing? It's on grade, bypass, off-site. The curb open length, 2 foot. Throat height. We have all that information in there. So we have the ability to make adjustments to our structures. The tributary areas, we have the ability to make adjustments to there. The known Q, by default, I just took a screenshot. It's 0 cubic feet per second. And then, I'll actually jump back to that. There are pipes and results in there. They were just grayed out because the ones I picked did not have pipes. This was a cool tool. I like this. This is worth the enhancement pack just on its own. The ability to swap out parts in pressure networks. As you know, leading into 2017, if I put in a pressure pipe network and I use 10-inch ductile iron pipe, and then someone came back and said, yeah, we got to make it 8-inch, or we got to go to 12-inch pipe. You literally had to delete everything and start over. There was no changing a piece of pipe from 10-inch to 12-inch. Now I have the ability to actually pick all my pipe at once and then say swap parts and then change it from 8 to 10 or 10 to 12, 12 back to 8. And then when I do that, I reference top of pipe because pressure is usually a Berry requirement based off of top. So swapping parts in pressure networks. If you do pressure networks, obviously this is well worth downloading the enhancement pack, even if you don't use anything else. Rail turnouts and crossings. I'm not that good at rails, so I'll just tell you that, hey, look, you can do a turnout table. You can create a turnout catalog. In the rail turnouts, you can create a turnout, edit a turnout, erase a turnout. So we're going from 2 tracks to 3 tracks. We got the turnouts. I can make those adjustments. And then rail crossovers. So we got a track crossing over another track. Again, I could create, edit, or erase a crossover. That is the extent of my rail knowledge, except for I know there's can't, and I know there's a few other things in there about rail, spiral curves and such. But this is, I know from the out of the box, this is a lot more tools when it comes to rail. Traverse input, if anyone has used the coordinate geometry editor, it is very similar to that. The only difference to this is Surveyor actually was involved in the programming on this, so it is more in tune to how a surveyor will plug in information. But for the most part, you'll have the side, it will be a point, line, curve, and such. So we'll be able to put in a bearing and distance. We'll be able to put in a chord, delta, radius, and we will be able to comp out a legal description in there. Where to download it? If you have an A360 account, which the majority of you should, go to accounts.autodesk.com or manage.autodesk.com. You should see your list of softwares on there. Find AutoCAD Civil 3D, expand it. There is an updates and add-ons on there. That will open it up. Under the updates and add-ons, you should see an AutoCAD Civil 3D 2017 enhancement released again September 5th, 2016. It's 9 meg, so it won't take that long. It is a browser download, so that would just go ahead and download it to your machine in the downloads folder. You do have a few other options in there, but browser download is the best. And once you run that exe, it'll move those subassembly composers to the program data file and then update your toolbox. So when you launch it, again, make sure that you have Civil 3D turned off.